Today, we're going to dive into 12 really powerful ideas from Japan. And these aren't just, abstract concepts, they're actual practical tools that can give you a totally different perspective on how to build a life that feels more meaningful and honestly, just more balanced.
I mean, does it ever feel like you're just stuck on this treadmill, constantly chasing some impossible standard of perfection in your job, your friendships, your life? It is absolutely exhausting, right?
What if the answer isn't about pushing harder, but about thinking differently? What if we could tap into some of this ancient wisdom to help us deal with all the pressures of our crazy modern world?
And that's where our journey really begins, with this first big idea, embracing life's imperfections. Because before you can really grow, you've got to learn to accept where you are right now.
This brings us to this amazing concept called Wabi-Sabi. It's basically a worldview that's all about finding the beauty in things that are imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete. Like a favorite old coffee mug with a little chip in it, or a wooden bench weathered by the rain. Wabi-Sabi teaches us to find joy not in some flawless ideal, but in things as they truly are.
Just think about it. Everything from our Instagram feeds to our professional lives practically screams at us to present this perfect, polished version of ourselves. We're taught to cover up the cracks, to hide the struggles. But Kintsugi offers this radical, beautiful alternative. It's the art of mending broken pottery with lacquer mixed with powdered gold. So instead of trying to hide the break, the gold actually highlights it, making the piece even more beautiful and unique because it was broken. It's a powerful lesson. Our scars and our struggles aren't weaknesses to be hidden. They're part of our story, and they're part of what makes us strong.
This idea of acceptance also applies to time itself, with a concept called mono no aware. It's that kind of gentle, bittersweet feeling you get when you see the cherry blossoms in full bloom, knowing that they'll be gone in just a few days. It's not meant to be sad. It's about appreciating the beauty of this very moment even more deeply, precisely because you know it won't last forever.
So if we can learn to accept imperfection, what's next? How do we build on that? Well, this brings us to resilience, the mental toolkit we all need to navigate whatever life decides to throw our way.
First up, we've got this incredibly practical idea, Shikita ganai. It literally translates to "it cannot be helped." Now, this isn't about being a pessimist or just giving up. It's about being strategic with your energy. Don't burn yourself out stressing over things you have absolutely no control over. The key is to accept the situation, adapt your plan, and keep moving forward.
And right alongside that, you have gaman. This is all about patience, perseverance, and dignity when you're facing tough times. It's that quiet, internal strength, that emotional self-control that lets you endure a challenge with grace instead of falling apart. It's really resilience in its purest form.
And that leads perfectly into this next one, which I love, called Oubaitori. In a world where we're constantly comparing ourselves to others, this is such a powerful reminder to just focus on your own journey. Your path isn't supposed to look like anyone else's. Trust your own process and bloom in your own season.
Okay, so we've got acceptance, we've got resilience. Now what? How do we actually grow? Our third theme is all about concrete strategies for deliberate, mindful improvement.
And it all kicks off with something called Shoshin, or the beginner's mind. The idea here is that no matter how much of an expert you become in something, you always approach it with the curiosity and openness of a complete beginner. This mindset is what keeps you from getting stuck in a rut and keeps you open to learning new things.
And that beginner's mind is the absolute perfect fuel for our next idea, Kaizen. You might have heard this one from the business world, but it is incredibly powerful for your personal life. The whole point isn't to make some massive, life-altering change overnight. No, it's about something much smaller and way more achievable.
It's just this, 1%. The entire philosophy of Kaizen boils down to trying to get just 1% better every single day. That's it. Kind of feels doable, right?
Because that's where the magic is. It's in the consistency. Those tiny 1% improvements start to compound over time, and they lead to these absolutely massive results that you probably would have never thought were possible at the start.
And finally, in this section, we have nemawashi. The literal translation is something like to turn the roots. Think of it as doing all the careful, quiet prep work before you make a big move. It could be a career change or a tough conversation. You do the groundwork first. You make sure the foundation is strong. Real, lasting success rarely comes from one giant leap. It comes from preparing the ground.
And that brings us to our final, and maybe the most profound section of all, tying all of these ideas together in the search for a deeper meaning, for a real purpose in life.
Now, I bet a lot of you have heard of this one, Ikigai, your reason for being. And it's not some big mystery. It's really found at the intersection of 4 simple questions. What do you love? What are you good at? What does the world actually need? And what can you be paid for?
I mean, that's really the ultimate goal, isn't it? To find that thing that just makes you feel alive. Ikigai is like a compass that points us toward a life that feels both deeply fulfilling for us and genuinely valuable to the world around us. And to kind of round everything out, we have 2 last guiding stars to think about. First is Yugen, which is all about appreciating those profound, quiet, mysterious moments in life, the things you can't really put into words, like gazing up at a sky full of stars. And then there's Bushido, the famous samurai code, which reminds us that a meaningful life is also an honorable one built on principles like integrity and courage.
So, wow, we've gone through 12 really powerful ideas. But what's the big picture here? How does this all come together in a way we can actually use?
Well, it really boils down to a few huge takeaways. Learn to embrace your flaws with Wabi-Sabi. Stop playing the comparison game and focus on your own path with Oubaitori. Commit to that small, daily progress with Kaizen. And keep searching for your purpose, your reason for being, with Ikigai.
Look, these are not just abstract philosophies to think about. They are practical tools you can use. So, the real question I have for you is this. Which one of these ideas really speaks to you right now? Which single one can you invite into your life, even in a small way, starting today?